free will versus destiny. Both. It's a both and, not an either or. I'll give you 2 examples. 1, a dog is tethered to a peg by a rope. The area in which the dog can function is determined by the length of the rope and where exactly the peg is, right? That's his destiny, predetermined. But within that area, that dog can bark, dig, sleep, do whatever it wants. Free will. Okay? A farmer has a plot of land. The location of the land, the nature of the soil, the weather conditions, all predetermined. But whether or not that farmer tills the land, plants seeds, weeds, fertilizes, cultivates and tends those plants, or just lets the land lie fallow, self-effort. The two go together. And even what we call destiny is the result of prior effort. In a way, we are the architects of our destiny. The Upanishads, the ancient scripture of India, gives this very beautiful chain reaction. It begins with thought. Everything we experience begins with a thought. We sow a thought, and then we act. So sow a thought, reap an action. If we repeat an action, it becomes a habit. The sum total of our habits define our character. And our character, in turn, determines our destiny. So what does that say? If you look a little more deeply into it, everything we're experiencing in our lives now, our health or illness, prosperity or poverty, happiness or despair, success or failure, all began with a single thought that we chose to cultivate. Millions of thoughts pass through our mind in a given day. At least I'm speaking for my mind. Anyone else? They're just everywhere, and they come cascading through our minds. What matters is which of those do we choose to cultivate? They're like guests showing up at our doorstep. Do we invite them in? Do we serve them tea? Do we sit and chat with them? Do we invite them back? Or do we say, sorry, not interested, wrong address? That's what makes all the difference. So that's one level of understanding free will and destiny. The great sages and saints speak of a higher level still, in which there is only that higher will. And our free will is given to us to either accept that or rebel against it, resent it, and make our lives miserable accordingly. So we're given free will in order to accept the higher will. It's interesting. It's a different level of understanding. That sort of view conceives the universe as an integrated, choreographed whole. We may see only a small part of it, but in the bigger picture, everything is designed to fit together perfectly, even though it might not match our understanding of what perfect might look like. Swami Satchidananda used to quote one of the saints here in the room, who used to say, "Why worry about anything? Everything has been decided long, long ago." Taken in a good sense, this would free us up from unnecessary despair or grief in our life, but it shouldn't disempower us from taking right action. We've all heard the expression, God helps those who help themselves. There's also an Islamic saying that I like, trust in God, but tie up your camel. In other words, we're given certain capacities, make use of them. They're given for a purpose. God isn't somewhere sitting in a corner of the universe pulling strings. What we call God is that higher power that is functioning through all of us, through our hands, through our feet, through our hearts, through our eyes, through our ears. That divine force functions through all of us. There was once a man who went to a temple, and he's sitting there in prayer, but he opens his eyes and he happens to notice a lame person, obviously in great pain, enter the temple. Then he sees someone very sick. And then he sees someone frail with age, hunched over, obviously suffering greatly. So in his compassion, the man looks up to heaven and he calls out and he says, "Lord, look at all this suffering. Why don't you do something?" And a voice was heard. And you know what the voice said? "My beloved son, I have done something. I created you." That's what. One of my favorite quotes from Mother Teresa is, God doesn't expect us to do great things, but what is expected of us is to do small things with great love. And that's what matters in life. So Swami Satchidananda used to have a saying, do your best and then leave the rest. In other words, with the capacity you were given in any situation, it's incumbent upon us to exert, to do our best within our capacity. Beyond that, Om Tat Sat. It's in the hands of a higher power. That way, sometimes people use the word co-create. If you like that type of thinking, you do your part in the divine Leela, in the divine play.